What is up, everyone? Welcome back for TCR Live. Sorry, we're late getting started. We're having some technical issues, and we actually had a third person who was going to be joining us, but couldn't get the technical stuff to work. So you may see our buddy Drew in the chat. Unfortunately, we couldn't get him in here because of technical issues. But I am joined, as always, by my friend Kyler Bird. How are you, Kyler?
I'm good, Joe. Happy to be here again to talk about another divisional loss.
There was so much Eeyore in that, you know, and but I feel it, right. It's warranted. Where we talked about that they needed to win one of these two games and they didn't.
Yep, you set it perfectly 2 weeks ago. Needed to come away with one win, at least.
Yeah.
But if you can't laugh at it, you'll cry. So,
And what makes it even more painful is they were close on both, right? I mean,
yes, yeah,
they
4
easily
points between two losses.
like one little thing going different, one kickoff not landing in the wrong spot, right? Just one little thing different on two games, they could be 4-0 right now.
Yep.
So it's frustrating, right? And so there's a lot of frustration, and I don't want to steal your thunder. You're going to talk about what that means right now. So it's not a happy feeling. It's tough though. It's this very purgatory thing because we're 2-2, which there are a lot of teams that are worse off. And this team has been in every game, hasn't been blown out yet, right? Of course, the wins were also ended up coming down a little more close than we were comfortable with. But like, it's frustrating because this team could easily be 4-0, but they could also kind of easily be 0-4, and
Yeah.
that's not a satisfying place to be in as a team. But we've got a lot to talk about, and let's get right into it. I want to start with the Kyler watch because this season, we've talked about this. I've always been a Kyler Murray apologist, and I am now in this place where I'm like, well, we got to see it this year, and if it doesn't go well, I've said that I'd be ready to move on. Now I've walked back a little bit in that if he plays well, I could see keeping him even if they don't make the playoffs, but he's got to play consistent and well. And this week wasn't great. But some of that wasn't on him. The two interceptions, one of them clearly Marvin Harrison Jr. needed to make that play. The second interception was one Kyler got it to him. Yes, it was a narrow window. It was a tight throw. It was a bang bang play. But when you are drafted in the first round to be a number one receiver and you are in year two, you need to make that play. And in the NFL, there are tight windows and there are close throws and bang bang plays. And Kyler, I don't fault him for that second interception. The first one looked like it was a kind of a someone was off, and maybe someone knows in the chat, or maybe you've heard, whether it was Marvin Harrison Jr. who ran the wrong route. I mean, it did not look like a situation where Kyler was hit when he threw it and it was thrown in the wrong spot. And he threw it so far away from him. Like, it's not like it was just an inaccurate throw. Kyler Murray is much more accurate than that. So someone got their signals crossed. So when you're talking about a quarterback who's been in the league for as many years as Kyler Murray has versus a second-year wide receiver who's had the yips and issues, I lean towards thinking it was Marvin Harrison Jr., but maybe that interception was more him. Although, again, I don't know. So, but it wasn't a great game for Kyler. He looked better in the second half, bringing them back, making some throws. But when we're looking at the Kyler Murray watch, this wasn't the best look for him.
No, not when he is in some sense on the hot seat. Now, regarding the interceptions, I agree that both of them really weren't on him, at least completely.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was a miscommunication between him and Marvin Harrison Jr., and it takes you to a secondary problem that's not really Kyler's fault, but we saw the miscommunications in this game, and we've seen them all season. We've seen them for a while now. And then we also wonder, why does Kyler Murray hold on to the ball? Why is he not throwing the ball when he has a clean pocket? And there are the questions about, are the receivers getting open or not? What's happening? And the consistent failures of who's supposed to be your number one wide receiver there, and that type of miscommunication means that Kyler Murray can't even make anticipation throws. He
Yeah.
has to wait for his wide receivers to be wide open because he clearly does not trust them enough to make those sort of anticipation throws, and he's kind of been backed up on that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't his best game, no, but every week that goes by, I am seriously considering what is he working with on this team
Mm.
other than Trey McBride, who is the most solid guy that you can get. He's leading the league right now, and for tight ends and first downs, he has 14 first downs. You know, throw the ball to him, he's going to make a play. Literally, who else can he throw that to?
I think Michael Wilson in limited snaps has made some nice plays, but he's not the guy you're looking to as your number two receiver, right?
Mhm.
Oh, when considering McBride a receiving threat, right? He's supposed to be number three, right?
Right.
And you need more out of Marvin Harrison Jr., no doubt. Yeah, and Brent Jones makes a good point here. Marvin Harrison Jr. broke off because he thought Kyler's going to run it, but like this to me is still a thing where it's like if you're playing with a quarterback who runs, he's going to run, but you also know if you've been seeing him in practice, you've seen the film, he also scrambles and throws. Like he is not just he is a guy who runs, but will look down the field and look for and that's to me, that's to his credit. One of the
Mhm.
criticisms of quarterbacks who overly rely on the run is sometimes they're not looking to pass when they could. And he runs like Russell Wilson did to extend plays, right? And then if there's nothing there, then he'll run it for the first down or for the gain, right? So Marvin Harrison has to, be aware of that and that the ball might be coming, and don't jump to blocking until right?
Mhm.
Um, so, and then Brett saying here, Wilson needed to make the adjustment on that first drive. That was a third play. Yeah, I mean, the one that where he went out of bounds. And so he hasn't been perfect, but he's also had a couple nice plays. Real quick, I want to say hey to Nick, too. I have a bad feeling about the Titans game. If we lose a game, somebody needs to lose their job. And of course, there's always at least we're not the Jets. So, yes. So, that's you're right. What's he got to work with, is a big question. And we talked about the receiving threats, but like going to the season, you kind of banked on even the passing game, because listen, there were questions about Petzing since last season and Marvin Harrison Jr. since last season, but you banked on the idea that they could still rely on the running game, right? That could, if their defense was better, which it has been, you figured the running game and a good defense could get them to be good enough to compensate for any struggles the passing game was having. But Kyler, the running game just hasn't been great.
No, and that's just plain, pure, and simple, and there's no way around it. The Arizona Cardinals had, I believe, the seventh best running game in the league last year. That was their bread and butter. It was the one thing for the offense to hang its hat on because Kyler wasn't putting up crazy quarterback passing stats. None of the receivers were putting up anything crazy except Trey McBride. Running was the thing. You get James Conner his second consecutive 1,000 yard plus season. You got even Trey Benson contributing a few hundred yards at the end of the season. You saw this is exactly what Petzing wants his run scheme to do, and the offensive line last year was actually good at executing that. And for whatever reason, and I'm sure there's a multitude of real reasons behind it. Um, Clayton Adams being gone is a prime thing that people keep pointing to. But the run blocking that is absolutely necessary for a running back to actually do his job, almost to the point where in certain schemes, who the running back is doesn't matter. We see this a lot with specific coaches and specific play styles. Kyle Shanahan can turn a 30-year-old guy off the street into a 1,000-yard rusher simply because of the way his offense works and the way that they generally have really good offensive lines that can execute at least that one thing really, really well. Kyle Shanahan has mastered that. He can turn anyone to a 1,000-yard rusher. But without that, it doesn't even matter who your running back is. I'm as sad as anyone that James Conner is out for the season because he He was like the heart of the team. They say he was the heart and Buda Baker's the soul of the team. And I completely agree with that. And I am as sad about it as anyone. And now Trey Benson is apparently hurt in a fairly serious way, considering they just worked out 4 running backs today. So not an encouraging sign at all at running back. But I will say, of all skill positions on offense, the one position that is the easiest to mid-season replace and still get production is running back if your offensive line can do their job. And in 4 games, they haven't. Like,
Yeah.
notably, they have not. There's a 30-point gap in average PFF scores between run blocking and pass blocking. It is an offensive line that is not doing the one thing it absolutely has to do for Petzing's scheme to work. And because that's not working, nothing in the Petzing scheme is working.
Yeah, I mean we've talked about this a lot. This has been the most surprising thing for me. Right? That, like, I'm not shocked that the passing game has been slow getting going, because that's something we were hoping would be better, but beginning of the season, teams are rusty, so
Yeah.
it's not shocking me, right? I'm not surprised that the defense has been solid, even with the injuries, right? I just felt like the depth was there. We've talked about that a lot. The run blocking and the running game has been the thing that caught me off guard, out of left field. I know folks are saying, well, Clayton Adams being gone, it shouldn't have surprised us. And, listen, I didn't really think about that. Coaches come and go all the time, but you usually figure there's still someone in the wings, and that the players are still there and the system's still there, and
Yeah.
that you don't expect it to drop as much as it has precipitously. There is still, and we've also I've cited this a few times, that something Blake Murphy talked about in their podcast, that there's been some shifts in how defenses are playing the run, in terms of making last minute adjustment or shifts along the line to disrupt the offensive lines. And listen, this game is sort of a pendulum sort of a thing. Like, there are cycles in this league where teams start playing a certain way, especially on offense, and then defensive coordinators start to adjust to that, right? And then
Yeah.
because they look for market inefficiencies, right? They look for ways to adjust to exploit what the offenses aren't doing well, and then they start playing defense in a certain way, and then offenses adjust to that, and vice versa, right? It was such a pass first league that the nickel became the base defense, and smaller linebackers were all the rage. And now offense is like, okay, we're going to run up the gut, right? And punish you. And so then now defenses have adjusted, and they're getting better, more stout against the run. And here we are, right? So that is a concern. And listen, if this season continues to go the way it is, and not the way we want it to be, when we do the post-mortem on this team, I think you might be right. That running game, like, listen, there are other issues, but that might be the thing that sunk it, because that running game should have been able to carry us through those other problems well enough to pull off 10 wins.
Right. And in these past 2 games,
Yeah.
how many drives in these 2 games that we lost by a combined total of 4 points could have potentially been won just by a slightly longer sustained drive fed by a power running game? Yeah, James Conner goes down in the San Francisco game, but even continuing that with Trey Benson, if you're averaging more than, see, what are we doing right now? 3 yards per attempt, then yeah, you might actually sustain those drives, not be using timeouts in bad places, and not let your opponent get the ball back, and actually escape with a few wins. And that, over the course of a season, can easily be the difference between the 1 to 2 games you might need to make the playoffs. And like, Kyler Murray right now is our most efficient rusher,
Mhm.
and that's because his rushing doesn't necessarily rely on the offensive line.
Yeah.
Because he is leading the league right now in quarterbacks in scramble yards. He has like 139 or something scramble yards. That is, if anything, his like actual superpower elite skill as a quarterback. And that is why he's averaging 5.9 yards per attempt. And he is also the team's second leading rusher right now. He only has 12 less than Trey Benson. So that's not a good place to be in unless you are a Baltimore offense that is 100% designed around the running ability of your quarterback. Ours is not, and it never has been for whatever damn reason. Make Cliff Kingsbury to now. No, none of our coaches have ever just keyed in completely and been like, no, this is what you do at an elite level. We're going to just copy Baltimore for the works. And
Yeah.
you have a better arm talent than Lamar anyway.
There's part of me would like to see that. I mean, obviously you worry about the injuries with that, but
Right.
there's a certain point where, you know what, like there is a certain degree where when it comes to injuries with you just kind of have to roll the dice and just, and take your shot. And if you get injured, well, so be it.
The injuries happen anyway.
No.
It is the NFL. Injuries are going to happen anyway. His
Mhm.
major career injury was non-contact.
Yeah.
Like,
And another way to look at that is like if you go over a 10-year, let's say a 10-year career of a quarterback, right? Um, and unless you're Tom Brady, you're lucky to get one Super Bowl, maybe two,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so there's an argument to be made for just if you knew that style of offense would be high risk, high reward, and over the course of a 10-year Kyler, kind of tenure in the desert, you just went all in for that kind of offense, and you knew that you could get a couple deep playoff runs in that 10-year period, but also a couple missed seasons from injuries. Not liking it, bake injuries in for someone, but like maybe that risk reward, like, well, in that 10 years, are you getting like those two shots at the prize are better
mhm.
than zero shots at the prize? If, it's an interesting conversation to have about whether that would be a viable way to approach it.
Like to your first point about Kyler, if this season really goes off the rails and the end of this season does end with few people losing their jobs, Drew Petzing,
Yeah.
and and maybe moving on from Kyler Murray, I will be pretty mad that in 7 years of having Kyler Murray, the Arizona Cardinals never took the shot at a season like that. Of,
Mhm.
let's see what happens if we just full send a Ravens offense and use him like Lamar very purposefully.
Mhm.
I fully believe he would have 1,000+ yard season rushing. He had 800 something his second year. Like I just wanted to see one time a full commitment to that, and then of course as it goes for us, he'll go to another team. They'll do the exact same thing. They'll win a Super Bowl in 2 years.
Oh man, that would be so our luck,
Uh huh.
Well, this one doesn't look like that. When I put Marvin Harrison Jr.'s name out there, it doesn't sound like a good point, and it wasn't a good game for him. But I'm throwing out a glimmer of hope here because we talked about last week, that he's got the yips, and I saw on Twitter, Drew, I think, or someone, maybe it was someone else, and I apologize, retweeted that someone else commented, "Hey, can a receiver have the yips?" And I think and it was something, and that was like, and I'm not saying that they heard it from us because I didn't watch this podcast. I'm sure whoever said that, but it is kind of interesting that something we talked about is also something other people have also kind of been talking about, and like that's totally to me what's going on with him is the yips because the talent is there,
Yeah.
the work ethic is there, and even the professional approach is there. Like, but maybe the other thing is maybe we talked about before, the aggressiveness in play style. We'd like to see more,
Mhm.
but it feels like a mental thing because, like, yeah, you want the aggressiveness, but there have been successful receivers with his profile who weren't Anquan Bolden level aggressive. I think, in
Yeah.
fact, I know it's a painful memory, but he reminds me so much of AJ Green in his physical profile, lanky, fast route runner, more finesse than like Julio Jones was more a physical beast,
Yeah.
and AJ Green was more of a gazelle, right?
Green was one of his like major draft
Comps,
time
yeah,
comps,
yeah,
and I know that hurt us kind of to see at the time, but that was never an insult. Prime
yeah.
AJ Green was incredible. If
Probably
we
Hall
could
of
get
Famer.
if we could get prime AJ Green out
Yeah,
of Marvin Harrison Jr., we should be very happy with
yes.
that result. He was fantastic.
So my hope here is like, listen, like Marvin Harrison Jr., 6 receptions for 66 yards, the game of the beast, with one touchdown. It wasn't a great game. In fact, it was a bad game early on, right?
Yeah.
It was the touchdown salvages that 6 receptions on 10 targets. so it wasn't a great. It was, if actually, it was a bad game with the exception of really one or two catches. But you saw, and I've seen people post images of this on social media. His reaction to that was just like relief, but also relief coming from a place of sadness and being right.
Yeah.
And I think the tweet I saw, and again I don't remember who it was, so I apologize for not giving credit specifically to, but it's like he hears you, right? Look at his response. He knows and he hears you, and he's affected by this, right? And my hope is, if it's the yips, and if it is all up here, as you've kind of been pointing, all in the head, the hope, because the yips are just this mental block,
Mm-hmm.
right? And my hope is maybe that touchdown and the relief and the relief that it provided, especially after the rough game, that hopefully this could be a turning point where whatever he needed to work through mentally, maybe this was the moment. Maybe this is where he turns the corner. Maybe we see his confidence restored. Him reacting instead of thinking, and just playing. I hope so. I'm not saying it is, but that is my hopes. And when you're talking about something like a mental block like the yips, it's plausible that that's what this ends up being.
Now it could be. Sometimes with kickers, they just need to make one kick,
Mm-hmm.
and they're back to normal. And none of my concerns with Marvin Harrison Jr. have anything to do with his innate talent or his physical abilities, anything like that. Like you mentioned, his professionalism. He has a lot of the key elements of being a pro down, uh, but fix whatever's going on in his head, and I think he'll be just fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just revert to our previous debates about him and how the Petzing passing scheme doesn't do him any favors. We'll get off his back for his individual performance, and we'll go back to piling on the offensive coordinator for not using him better. But from this game, it didn't look good. It looked like, oh, well, maybe there's a reason we don't use him more. But I do think that's just a mental thing. I hope the same. Very rarely have I seen a touchdown seem so emotional to a player than that one. And I do think that one meant a lot to him. I think it meant a lot to him that Kyler threw that ball to him.
Mm.
Even after the misses and the arguable 2 interceptions that go on his record as a quarterback because of Marvin Harrison Jr.'s mistakes. Quarterbacks take that seriously. He still went to him, and he made a good grab, like a good one.
Yeah.
One that we kind of got on him a couple weeks ago for not making a more aggressive grab in the end zone that could have ended in a touchdown. He did. It was a good ball, and I hope that is just the mental solvency that he needs to just move on from this and go back to piling on Petzing.
Well, we're going to need him to figure it out,
Yeah.
because we are not in a good spot. It ain't great.
No.
0-2.
0-2 in the worst possible way, too.
Yeah.
2-2 as our overall record. Sure, it's 500. It doesn't seem that bad. But let's just look forward in a hypothetical so that we win these next 2 games, which far from guaranteed at this point. Even the Titans, I'm not going to guarantee that to be a win at this point. But let's say we do, and we're at a 4-2 record. Well, that's a good record.
Mm-hmm.
But these 2 really do matter.
0-2 in the division.
0-2 in your division when you've only got 6 chances is really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 of those games that are left are the LA Rams in the second half of the season that are kryptonite, and they're just a good football team. They're a pretty good team. San Fran honestly doesn't look very good.
But you got them with their backup quarterback, and you didn't take advantage of it.
You got them at their worst possible spot, which the next time we see them, they'll probably be better, have a few more players back active. And Seattle is Seattle. It's always a battle. Weird things always happen in those games. But you had every opportunity in the world to get at least one of, and you should have gotten 2 of these wins. and we're having a completely different conversation where we're just talking about, yeah, there are still some concerns. I don't know about the second half of the season, but really happy to be 4-0. However, 0-2 in the division can't be underestimated. That is a really tough hole to dig out of when the best, the most assured, the only assured way to make the playoffs is to just win your division. And with that 0-2, it looks increasingly unlikely that we're going to be competing in any serious way for an NFC West title, which means we have to win a lot of games to get one of those wild card spots. So looking at 2-2 right now doesn't look like the most terrible of records, but that does mean we have to win probably minimum 8 more games.
Yeah.
Because we probably are winning the division. It's not impossible, but we would have to win out the division to go 4-2. Looks very tough to win all of those remaining divisional games. And then you have to win at least 8 more games. And when you look at the schedule and the way the Cardinals have been playing right now, without serious change, do you realistically see 8 more wins there without serious change?
Right. You are not winning 8 more games if your play does not turn the corner.
No,
Right. If
absolutely
something
not.
doesn't get worked out or figured out or changed, if you're playing the way they have, they are not winning 8 more games. Playing the way they're probably winning 4 to 5 more games, maybe. I mean, they're
Maybe.
playing gritty. They're keeping it close. And listen, like Seattle had scored 30 something and 40 something points in 2 previous games, kept them at 23. The defense is keeping them close, but you're not winning. Brett says 5 total games or more games. I wonder what you're saying that, but like, you're not winning. Like the way they're playing, they'll have a hot game and they'll win some, but they'll lose some close ones. The defense will keep them in some, but the offense has got to figure something out. To 5 more games. Okay, so Brett thinks 5 more games with the way they're playing, and I could see that.
7-10. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if with the way they're playing, 7 total is probably what they end up with if they don't something doesn't improve. Our good buddy Aaron Van Buren in the chat saying, not to mention we have to have the Rams twice in the last 5 weeks, and the only home game being against the Falcons, right? So
The
yeah,
home stretch is brutal.
yeah,
The last 5 weeks of the season are going to be very, very tough.
yeah.
And our defense has kept us in games.
Mm-hmm.
Our defense, I don't have almost a single problem with them at this point. They're
Considering the injuries, I think they've
they're
played
playing
better than
so
expected.
well. Rollis has always done well with less talent, and now he has talent, and he's living up to that expectation.
Yeah,
But we have the 28th offense in the league.
yeah,
Even no matter how good your defense is, you're not going to win that many games. You have to be an elite defense, and then maybe you can survive with the middle of the pack
yeah.
offense. 28th, no, you're not going to win that many more games if you stick with what's going on right now.
Now, our good buddy Salty, who I always appreciate him hanging out with us, and he does his own content, gaming and football or sports content. So definitely check him out. Salty and Salty's a little more critical than I am, but I appreciate him. I'm a big believer in Monty. I'm not firing Monty. I think Monty's done a really good job. I like JG, and I like a lot of things he's doing culturally, especially but the offense, something's got to. So if they go 6-11, definitely offensive coordinator, probably new quarterback, and some really really big looks in the mirror about in terms of what they're doing offensively. Something's got to change, and there's I don't know. I think there's a chance they might start looking to do some things differently. I don't want to, someone. I don't want to kind of give anything specific because it wasn't something that was disclosed as public information. But there's, I think, belief around people around the Cardinals that they might try to do some things differently offensively because of injuries, and that makes sense. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think they have to.
Yeah,
There's not a choice right now. And with this game coming up, not to overlook your opponents or anything, but if you're going to have one game, 2 test some new things out, test a few new offensive ideas out, it's going to be this week against the
Mhm.
Titans. You don't want to be doing that against the Green Bay Packers in a few weeks.
Yeah.
So and this is a long week too, so a little bit more time to install things. When we are already talking about all the changes that need to be made after the San Francisco game, unrealistic. Anything new could be installed in a short week with a Thursday game. So
Mhm.
we saw what we saw on Sunday pretty much. But now there's a chance. Hopefully they do take advantage of it because I don't think Monty's getting fired. I don't
Yeah.
think Jonathan Gannon's getting fired, even with a 6-win season. But a super underperforming season, I don't know. And I do think Drew Petzing will lose his job at the end of the season if the offense is the clear cut reason for an underwhelming season. I think he's gone, and then everyone else gets at least one more year to try with a new scheme. That would be my bet right now.
Yeah, if it goes that bad 6-11, I think they get another year with major changes in offense. I agree. I think everyone sees that this defense is so much better. They've got some players that are developing, some young, nice players. Even with the injuries, they're still being coached up. And that defense, as those young players get healthy and better and they add more, in the next offseason, that defense is just going to keep getting better. And
Yeah,
that's not surprising with the coaching staff they brought in, a defensive minded coaching staff. And Nick Rouse coming in, like everyone talked about him as being one of the brightest young minds. Like there was legit buzz around him like year one. And
hmm
I think we're seeing the fruits of that. So, there's a lot of doom and gloom and a lot of concern, and understandably so. This is disappointing. We expected, 3-1, the way the games went. They really should have pulled out one of those games. We're disappointed about the way the offense is looking. The running game surprised us. Marvin Harrison Jr., we wanted him to take the step, and he hasn't. Kyler Kyler Murray. Kyler Bird has been an all-star, all-pro, but Hall of Fame. But Kyler Murray has been not as, there's been enough reasons to think he's not the problem, but we still want to see more from him. But we're like, well, what does he have to work with? But you know, one of the things I try to do is bring some positivity to this Cardinal space. I'm probably more critical this year than I have in the past, but we've talked about it. There's a lot of range of possible outcomes. There are plenty of voices out there pointing at all the things that are wrong and bad, and I'm not saying they're wrong. Though there's a lot of legit critiques, but what I try to do in this space is bring a little bit of positivity in terms of let's look at some of the things that are going well. And then also, hey, I'm not saying it's going to go this way, but here's what could realistically happen and be a positive outcome, right? Trying to bring a little optimism. So, one of the things I want to do is talk about there are some guys that are playing well. There are some players that are quietly having really good seasons. I sent out a tweet about this. And Salty, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Some people are a little critical of me for that, but I'm not gonna apologize for it because I'm like, hey, it's part of the space, right? One of us brings positivity, someone's got to bring it, right? Um, so let's talk about some players that are playing really well, and like, listen, there's the guys we know about, like Calais Campbell is just having an outstanding season, and he's having like one of his better seasons he's had. Like this is his best PFF grade since 2019 so far. It's only a couple points ahead of last year, but like he's been good the whole time. But like he's playing really well, right? And there's a couple other players though that aren't as big of names. Right? Everyone's loving what we're getting from Calais Campbell and loving to see him back. But there's some players that are more quietly having really good seasons. And I want to just kind of mention some of those guys. Now some of them are on limited snaps. They're kind of role players playing a role, but they're playing it well. And so I'm just going to kind of talk about them real quick. One guy that's playing, really well, is tight end Elijah Higgins on 61 snaps, so it's limited, but he's grading at a 79.6. And he has been good for them in his limited role, since they brought him in. But this is his best PFF grade of his career so far. Now it's only 4 games in, so will he continue that? But he has been playing really well. Another guy who that we've talked about for the last couple of years, Hilder Froholt, 76.4 PFF grade. The one guy on this team that is run blocking well. He grades third amongst centers, third out of 35 qualifying centers.
Wow.
Yeah. Like that 76.4 ranks third, and obviously full-time starter snaps. So really good season he's having quietly. Keachel Clark on 76 snaps, a guy who has stepped in 80, a PFF grade of 80. That ranks seventh amongst quarterbacks. Now, full-time starter snaps are probably about 4 times that, over 3 times that, almost 4 times. So, he's not been a full-time starter. It's a smaller snap count. You get him, we'll see how he plays, but he has played well for this team in limited. Like last year, he had a 71.7 grade, not as a starter, as, playing limited snaps. But, when we talked about those injuries a couple weeks ago, we were worried about the injuries to cornerback. This is one of those guys that made me feel a little more confident that they were going to be able to weather the storm at cornerback because he had played well in limited snaps. He had started in the past. He's been in their system, and he has been their best graded cornerback right now. His grade is better than Will Johnson. Now, Johnson had a really rough second game. We're still waiting to get him back, but like Keachel Clark quietly having a really nice season for the Cardinals. Rabbit, 76.2 grade on 167 snaps.
Yeah.
He grades 11th out of 79 safeties, right? Solid grade. Akeem Davis Gaither, free agent linebacker on 185 snaps, 69.3 grade, 25th out of 75. Like this was a guy who was a depth special teams kind of guy who was a journeyman who we brought in from the Bengals, who kind of was, people thought, well, this is the Kazir White replacement. They weren't excited about it. And like that, I'm not saying he's better than Kazir White, but that's better than Kazir White graded when he was with us. And he has been solid. Couple more guys I'll highlight, and then I'll let you jump in here. Really just actually one other guy. I mean, we know Josh Sweat has played reasonably well, a guy that we brought unexpected, but like Zaven Collins, 79.3, grades 21st out of 116 qualifying edges on 137 snaps. So he's playing less snaps, but this is the best grade of his career if he holds on to it. His prior last year he had 71.5. So he's playing some solid football. So listen, there's a lot of things they got to get right. There's a lot of things that aren't looking great, but there's also some players on this roster that are playing well. And there's a few of these guys that are veterans, but there's some of these guys that are part of the future. Rabbit, right? And some other guys. So it's nice to see these guys. And and really more than anything, I just want to kind of, in a time where we're all stressed and frustrated about the direction of the season, bring some attention to some guys who've been playing really well and deserve that attention.
Yeah, I agree with all of them. They've been having good individual seasons. My favorite right now is Rabbit. He's a great player. He earned his way into snaps even in the first 2 games before being absolutely devastated with cornerback injuries. He had still played so well that he was earning his way onto the field in 3 safety sets. And then in the past few games, down so many cornerbacks, he's taken on a few other roles. He's kind of taken over some slot responsibilities at times. But he is a really promising young player, and he does a lot of things really well. He has that interception against Seattle last week. Right? Or was that San Francisco?
It was San Francisco. I think he had that interception. Yeah, that was the one that gave us a chance.
Right. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, that brought back some pain. But
yeah, sorry.
he has been playing great, and this is in what's really a pretty down season for Budda Baker. He's still Budda Baker, so he's playing fine. But for what we've become accustomed to from All-Pro Budda Baker, this is a down season for him so far. And you've hardly been able to notice because Rabbit's been on the field with him and Jalen Thompson. We've got a great safety trio now. We used to talk about our safety duo. Now we have a safety trio that is all really good. It is harder to find those players on offense a little bit. A lot of things are just not clicking there. Yalda is possibly one of our best off-season free agent steals in years. Because I will fully admit, when we signed him a few years ago, I did not believe in that signing at all. This was right after we sort of had that failed experiment with Rodney Hudson, where we got like half a season of great Rodney Hudson and then
Mhm.
a whole bunch of nothing. But Yaltup's been incredible.
I've
And
said this before. I will own what I said about this because I was so wrong, and I'm glad when they signed him. And you could go back and find it if you wanted to. I think it was probably in a mock draft Monday when we were talking about drafting a center that year. I said, this is the kind of guy you sign if you want to draft a guy and develop, and this is the bridge guy. That's what I said about Froland. And I was so wrong, and I'm glad I'm wrong, and I will own that mistake 6 times a week and twice on Sunday.
Yeah, he and Paris Johnson Jr. are the only guys on the offensive line I trust right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if we have to point out a superstar, which is not a surprise to anyone, Trey McBride is Trey McBride. If there's a positive spin to this, though, last season wasn't a fluke. Trey McBride's the real deal. He totally belongs in the top discussions of all tight ends in the league. And he proves it week in, week out. I love him so much. He is our only hope on offense, and he's insane. He's incredible. I honestly don't even care if we funnel like 12, 15 targets to him every game. If that's what works, do it. I don't care.
Set a new record for receptions and
Sure.
yards for tight ends.
Yeah, he's just a really big wide receiver that's stronger than all of the DBs. Why not? But on the defense, there's a lot of options. Lots of guys on the defense are playing well. They're playing well, particularly in like advanced metrics. And one that you didn't mention, Baron Browning's playing well. Mid-season trade last year, and we do have this rotation of edges now, like him and Josh Sweat and Zaven Collins. But Baron Browning's been playing really well, man. He has an interception off that weird fluky batted pass. But he's no, never.
Zach, I like you, and I want it to say that way.
No.
So do not ever suggest we trade McBride again, my friend.
Abide that here.
We will not abide that here. That blasphemy is not welcome in this place. We still love you, but that heretic, blasphemer. We love you though.
We do,
Zach. Yes,
we do. Yeah, we have good players on the defensive side of the ball. In pass rush win rate, Josh Sweat and Baron Browning are both in the top 15. Baron Browning is, I think, number 11 in the league. He deserves credit for that. And one small piece of credit to Dante Stills. He hasn't done a ton this year, but he does crack the top 20 in run stop win rate. So flowers to Dante Stills, who last year was probably our best defensive lineman. We just have a lot more and a lot better ones this year. But we do have good players, and that's the absolutely frustrating part about all of it. This is the first year in many years where I do not think you can put the blame on the failures of this team on, we just don't have enough talent. We don't have enough talent to win. They're playing gritty. They're playing hard. That's what Jonathan Gannon is great at. He gets his players to play hard. Well, sure, we've done that. We've established that as part of the culture, and we have the talent now. I truly think we do. Lots of teams would be happy to have the talent that we have, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And the offense is so bad, it's wasting it.
It's
and that's
absolutely
incredibly frustrating.
It is time to deliver. They've got enough talent. I'm not saying they're the most talented team in the league, but yeah, I agree. They've got enough talent that they need to be doing better than what. And again, the record in of itself isn't the problem as much as, I mean, you don't like 2-2, but like there are teams that would take that are still going to be in the playoffs that are 2-2. But it's the way, right? That the defense has been good. We'd like it to continue to improve, right? But the offense, you expected more. And Brett, we need a new right. I mean, listen, Jonah Williams is a veteran. He's a placeholder. I think they drafted a guy in, is it Christian Jones, I think, or the guy who's injured, that they probably hoped they would develop into him, and he's been injured. So I think, I know, listen, if AVB's in the chat, he's going to be like it's like that meme pointing meme with with what's his name? There he is. Uh, uh, the he's saying hey to Pale, but that meme with what Leo DiCaprio where he's pointing at the TV with the beer in his hand, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be AVB when I'm like, yeah, they probably need to draft another tackle
Yes.
on I'd say day 2. I know some people want to go first round. I could live with that next year if they do that, but they need to draft one early and develop into a right tackle across from Paris Johnson Jr. Yes. So there's it is. We've said this a lot. It's frustrating. It's discouraging. If I'm looking for the positivity, the light of hope, the ray of hope, the possibilities, there is enough talent on the team to turn it around.
Yeah, there is. Absolutely.
This is not the team from a couple years ago that they would have to just play way above their talent level to turn it around and play well. There are playmakers on offense. There are guys who have blocked well before on the offensive line. They've shown they've done it before. So like when we go into this week 5 game against Tennessee and beyond, I mean there's enough talent on this roster to get it fixed. If they can get their whatever it is that needs to be fixed, if they can get their heads on straight, figure it out. It's not like they're going to have to do it with talent that can't do it. So real quick, side note, I wish we would have drafted Scadaboo. He's grading as a top running back this year. Not a fan of Benson so far. Listen, I know there's a lot of fans, and I know you were a fan of Scadaboo, but like weren't necessarily looking at him as a pick they would take.
Not for us, no, but I do
Yeah,
love him.
yeah, but do love him. Did someone say draft offensive lineman? We did, Aaron.
You
We
summoned
did.
him.
We did. And Brent Jones saying Marvin Harrison Jr. to 10 plus TTs this year, that could be a big part of the turnaround, right? So, when we look at week 5, man, they better win this one.
Oh,
This an
there's
0
going to
4
be
team.
fires in the streets if we lose this one.
If they don't find a way to win this one, I mean, I don't even know. Robert Moore, thanks for being here. Appreciate you jumping in. Yeah, like Cam Ward is, rookie quarterback. And Aaron's saying not just needs to be a win, it has to be a 30 plus point victory. Like they need like the Titans, and I'm looking at them right now, like they're an 0-4. They lost 20-12 against the Broncos, 33-19 against the Rams, 41-20 against the Colts, 26-0 against Texans. They've been blown out in all but one game.
Yeah.
Okay. This can't be a close game, right? I don't know if it needs to be a 30. I don't know if the margin of victory needs to be 30 points, but you would, with as bad as this team, the the Titans are, you want to see this team put up 30 plus points. This can't be a close game. You got to, you're right. Brent Pale, you're trying to make up for the Trey McBride slander earlier, but listen,
Smart.
we do love you, and yeah, I hope that's right. Cards cover the money, right? On, so like you can't lose this one, and you can't be close, right? Yeah, can the offense even get a game woven 300 yards this week? So like this, like the Titans are a bad team. Like they're a rebuilding team. They have a few okay players, but there's a reason they're 0-4, and you just cannot lose this one if you're the Cardinals. If you lose this one, I'm writing up the season for sure. Even though there's time to get it right, I'm just like, and I just can't imagine the losing to this Titans team coming up, and then this team somehow finding a way to turn it around to get into the playoffs after that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see it,
And just because the numbers could technically work, if we lose this game,
yeah,
I will be mentally and emotionally incapable of believing in this team again this season.
yeah.
It's a really bad feeling to potentially feel after week 4. Right now, we're at a very concerned level,
Mm-hmm.
like a DEFCON 4.
Mm-hmm.
losing next week is a DEFCON 5. Like, this is potentially just a lost season. I cannot believe we win. If we lose against Titans, I can't believe we win another game.
I think we would win more games. I think but if we can't beat the Titans, I think this is a team that surprises me if they win more than 6 games.
Yeah, fair.
But I think they're going to beat the Titans. And I think they're going to win more than and I'm not writing off the season yet, right? But yeah, like, listen, as Robert's saying, if it's a low scoring game and the Cardinals lose, how hot is Petsing's seat, right? Yeah, nukes if we lose, right? Like,
well, like, our offense has not scored above 20 this year. We had a game with a score of 27. That had a defensive touchdown.
yeah.
Our offense has not scored more than 20 points all season.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the flip is that the Titans are averaging like 12.6 points per game or something. Not good.
Yeah.
So with how good I think our defense is, there is no objective reason we should lose this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I, however, cannot say that is impossible, considering we have not seen a complete picture yet. I think it's very unlikely. I do believe we'll get the win. That will be my game prediction. But if we don't, like Brett said, nukes. Nukes
Yeah.
if we lose.
I mean, the Titans defense has not held a team to less than 20 points. 20, 33, 41, 26. That's what they've given up. So that we should be able to also put up points on them. We would hope. Yeah, Ryland with 5 field goals. Brett's calling it, and he's probably right.
Win however you need to win.
Oh my God. 15-3 Cardinals. Oh my God. If that happens, that's the least inspiring win ever.
It will still be having this exact same conversation next week then if that happens. We need to not maybe blow them out by 30 plus points, but we do need to look like a competent offensive team against a really bad Tennessee Titans. If you're ever going to look great, it needs to be this week.
Mm-hmm. There's someone who's been around in the comments for this channel for a while who keeps saying he's just waiting for that 4-4 tie. It's going to happen. Man, if this is the week that I think it's Garple or Glarple's the name, that the profile of whatever. If you watch this, you comment in the on this video. But like, if there's ever a week that happened, fate hates us, it's going to be this time, right? But, no, this is a get right game for sure, right? This is a chance to kind of get some things worked out. Talk about if they're going to try some new things. This is the week to try them.
Yep.
Get some things going, right? So, well, yeah, here we are. It's been rough. It's not the season to me isn't done yet, but they got to get some things right.
Mm-hmm.
So here's hoping this is that game. Kyler, any parting thoughts you want to give before we get out of here?
Well, just want to say this is my potentially last week of feeling hope in regards to the game of football. So I'm going to treasure that for now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to feel it. And if we win, then hopefully we win well enough to where we don't have to have these exact same conversations next week. It is totally possible the Cardinals turn it around. I hope they do. But we got to see some changes. That's just been the theme of the first quarter of this season. Something's got to change. We absolutely can save the season, but changes have to be made, and they have to be made right now.
Real quick, thanks, Grandizer, for doing what you do. Appreciate you being here, getting our socials and everything up here. Make sure you follow our good buddy, Kyler Bird, and all of his writing. You're writing, though. You're writing somewhere else now, though, right? We probably got to get that updated info.
Yeah, I'm writing with Sports Illustrated now.
Yeah. So these are some of the old comments, or where you used to write. But make sure you follow Kyler on Twitter. You can get his info there. and then find all of his writing there. He posts his stuff there for Sports Illustrated. So, Kyle, appreciate you being here, man.
Absolutely.
Listen, if this season ends up being as painful as it feels, I'm glad I have a friend to kind of provide emotional support through it. I might
Me
need that.
too.
Yeah.
Me too, buddy.
We're going to commiserate. So, all right. Well, thank you all for being here with us. We technically, I think, got this in less than an hour because we started late. So this might be a first for us, right? Thank you all for hanging out with us. We're going to get out of here, but we will see you all next time, everyone. And hopefully it's with victory to talk about. Here's hoping. All right, everyone. Pay